I'm Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and I believe with all my heart that reconciliation is the call on every human being. We all know we live in a world that is divided, conflicted, and hurting. And though many of us long for our faith to make a difference, it can be very hard to know where to start. The gift of reconciliation we receive overflows from us into the world around. We are to be the lavish givers of what we have received so lavishly. But, there's always a but, isn't there? Reconciliation is not only lavish, but it's unbelievably expensive. It's more expensive than we can imagine. It's so expensive that it costs more than we could ever pay. It cost the life of God Himself, of Jesus Christ, to put aside the riches of heaven, to live as a servant, to die on a cross in disgrace. That's the cost of reconciliation. So it is no surprise that reconciliation doesn't just happen, and in fact doesn't happen easily or without challenge. I know that from my own experience. Like all of us, there have been bad moments in my life. Moments where I've done cruel things and bad things. Moments where people have done things to me. And where they've been particularly wounding, where it's led to great pain in my life, and I'm thinking of family loss through an accident, then forgiveness and reconciliation, what a mountain that is to climb. So reconciliation is the most precious gift because it begins with our reconciliation with God Himself and knowing His love. But the discipline, the demand to let that bubble out of us, oh my goodness, that is learned behavior. It's process, not event. It's something that has to become who and what I am, my identity. And to be honest, it's a lifetime's work and will be completed when we face Jesus Christ. What it isn't is just another to-do list. Do this and it'll work. Press these buttons in this order and it'll unlock the door of reconciliation. Human beings, as we all know, are so much more complicated than that. We'll be introducing you to 3 habits. In other words, what we are as we journey through life with Jesus Christ, what we are is what matters. And what we are is developed by our habits. The first one is be curious. Just being interested where we meet difference, where we meet those who are not like us. I find people utterly fascinating. Even when they jar on me, I suppose over time I'm learning to think, but why is that? What's that about? Why are they like that? Whether they're radically different to me or just a little bit different. So be curious is not to be starting with oneself, but to be starting with the other. And thinking, what's this person really like? Because they're made in God's image, like I am. And the second one is be present. Now, if you're sitting there just checking your phone as I'm whittering on in front of you, you're not present. To be present means you're engaged, you're focused, you're listening, you're actually sticking with it. Sometimes it's really difficult to be present. It's very difficult to be present when people are angry. It's very difficult to be present when people are suffering. It's very difficult to be present when people are desperately hurt, especially when you've hurt them. But to be present is what really matters if you're going to engage in healing conflict. And thirdly, reimagine. I think one of the things I'm most aware of is that in conflict, people can't see anything but conflict. Whether it's in a family or in a nation, they can't imagine a circumstance in which there is not conflict. Part of the work of reconciliation is to enable people to think, what would life be like if? And to allow the work of the Holy Spirit to create in our minds the possibility of a new world in which conflict was healed. The 3 habits: be curious, be present, reimagine.